Hi guys, Peyton here from Heal Navigator. I'm actually live now in Tijuana. Sorry about some technical difficulties that we experienced in the beginning. I am with Dr. Contreras from Oasis of Hope. Hey, good to see you in
It's
person
good to see
now.
you in person. Yes, baby. Welcome to the Oasis of Hope.
Yes, thank you for hosting all this and having our team here on site at your facility.
Yes. You look
Um,
better in person than on the screen.
Oh, thank you. You're mighty handsome yourself, sir. So for those of you that are tuning in that don't know who Hill Navigator is, we're a third-party platform that travel around the world to assist people in locating alternative cancer treatment solutions. So I come here to Tijuana or just Mexico in general about 2 to 3 times a year. Also tour through Europe. So this now we have the pleasure of being here again in Tijuana to bring these information to you guys live. So as a special treat for those attending today, we'll have a few special bonuses for you guys. Dr. Contreras will be hosting a Q&A. Some people have already submitted some questions, so I have those with me, and we will be asking Dr. Contreras towards the end. So if you have any that you're listening, please continue to send those in, and we'll sift through them and provide that. Also, just to mention, Oasis of Hope does partner with Hill Navigator to provide a $3,000 grant for those that do attend here for treatment. So you just need to mention that you were referred by Hill Navigator to Mike Salas at the admission department to where that can be applied to your tuition fee. The last final bonus is I have always has the pleasure to meet some patients that I've talked to over the phone. And I do have a patient and his lovely wife today here on site at Oasis of Hope getting treatment. And so she will hopefully be joining us towards the middle end of the webinar to just share her experience with you guys, because this is honestly one of my favorite parts. So we're thrilled to have you with us today, and I'm just going to hand it over to Dr. Contreras to begin the webinar for him to give a little background of who he is, what Oasis of Hope is. That way you guys are informed if you've never heard of them before.
Well, I'm Dr. Francisco Contreras. I'm a surgical oncologist, and I'm the director and president of the Oasis of Hope. We have been helping cancer patients for the last 60 years. My father founded the Oasis of Hope in 1963. And since then, we've been doing integrative oncology here. So we have available for our patients alternative therapies and conventional therapies, depending on their needs. And we have been very, very successful through the years. And what separates us from the rest is more our philosophy than the actual practice of alternative or conventional medicine. And our philosophy is based on two principles. First, what the father of medicine said, first, do no harm. And so we translate that into that we're not going to do anything to a patient that will not improve their quality of life. And the second principle was instituted by Christ when he said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So we love our patients as we love ourselves. And the practical application of that is that we would never offer a cancer patient anything that we would not offer to ourselves or our loved ones if they were in that same condition. And I think that establishes a platform that is more humane for the patients, because easily oncologists will give chemotherapy, radiation therapy, or massive surgeries, or offer them because they're not going to be affected. But cancer treatments can be very, very devastating, and so we never will offer anything like that to our patients. Having said that, in the most common cancers, we have been able to do prospective clinical trials. And in comparison to conventional therapy, for instance, in lung cancer, our results are 9 times better as far as 5-year survival rates than with conventional therapy. In ovarian cancer, it's about 3 times better. In colon cancer, is about 2.5 times better. In breast cancer, when the patient has been treated before, it's about 3 times better than with conventional therapy. And when the patient's conversion to treatment, or we are the first choice, our treatment is 5 times better than with conventional therapy. So, we've had a lot of experience, and we're very confident that we can help cancer patients in stage 4 or in any stage when they come to the Oasis of Hope.
Thank you for giving that brief overview. So how does Oasis of Hope integrate both conventional and alternative treatments in their approach to treating patients?
In several ways. One of them can be if a patient, for instance, comes to us with a lung cancer and the cancer is obstructing the main airways. Well, alternative therapies are going to take weeks, if not months, to work, and the patient does not have that time. So we use radiation therapy to reduce the tumor in a very fast way so that the patient can breathe, and then it gives us the time for the alternative therapies to be effective. The same with surgery or chemotherapy. There are some cases where chemotherapy, for instance, really shines. For instance, in most lymphomas, even in advanced stages or stage 4, chemotherapy is curative in 90 to 95% of the cases. So in those cases, obviously, we're going to offer chemotherapy, but we prepare the patients before, when it's possible, during and after the chemotherapy, to repair the collateral damage that chemotherapy can have, especially on the immune system. And thus the patients will have not only immediate good responses, but long-term with responses with less side effects, especially the permanent side effects of chemotherapy. And so that's a way that we can integrate uh, both alternatives and conventional therapies.
Yeah, I know from my personal experience of sending people to you guys, I have people that will come to me, they're given their treatment plan through standard of care. They see all these chemos, immunotherapies, it makes them nervous, so then they're wanting a secondary opinion. There's been many times I sent them to you guys, and you guys look at their treatment and say, no, what you have is good, do your therapy, then come see us. Or there's been instances also where you're like, no, pause. We can do chemotherapy, but in a different way. Could you explain like how, like, say, like metronomic chemotherapy might be different than the ways that they implement through standard of care facilities like Sloan Kettering, MD Anderson, things like that?
Yes. Metronomic chemotherapy is given at 1/10 of the dose in a very constant way over time. So that comes from the metronome, from music, so that it's constant over a long period of time at low dose. We use that. We also use low dose chemotherapy, where less than half, usually about 1/3 of the chemotherapy, can be given to a patient instead of a full dose, because we are coupling that chemotherapy with all of the alternatives. And then we need less of the aggressive therapy for the tumor to reduce in size. So when a tumor is a very aggressive tumor, very fast growing, we combine the low dose chemotherapy with alternatives. When tumors are slow growing, usually alternative therapies are sufficient. And so that's a different way in how we can use chemotherapy. We also use low dose chemotherapy because it has our treatment has a synergistic effect to the chemo. Thus, we can use mild chemo in low dosages in tumors where usually that chemo doesn't work. But because of the combination of therapies, it can be very, very effective. And so in a good number of our patients, we use low dose chemotherapy.
What are some treatments on the alternative side that you see that will potentially enhance the effects of chemotherapy?
Depending on the type of chemotherapy that you use, in a big chunk of it is called oxidative therapy. We will enhance the oxidative effect with other oxidative therapies like ozone therapy, hyperthermia, and high-dose vitamin C.
Mm.
And it potentiates then the capacity of the oxidation of these therapies very, very effectively. So that's why when I mentioned the reports on the results that we have with the most common type of tumors, our results are so good. Very, very good.
Now, I know with like new emerging information with Dr. Marcus and Jay McClelland, all these people that specialize in repurposed medication and kind of coming that to a head, is there ever times that you are utilizing that alongside chemotherapy or say immunotherapy, whatever you choose to use from an integrative standpoint to enhance the effects of treatment?
Yes, for instance, using or lowering the concentration or the amount of carbohydrates and especially sugar content in the diet and in the bloodstream, you will potentiate significantly the activity of anti-tumor agents. So in that sense, we do use that. But our protocol is there's a lot of science behind each one of the elements that we use, and that combination has proven to be very effective over the years. Obviously, it evolves. There's new things that come out, and we do that. But all of that is usually in preparation for our strongest part of the therapy, which is the immune therapy. And so we believe that the most effective tool that patients have against their tumor is in their own immune system, which is normally very, very depressed. And so by enhancing the capacity of the immune system and providing elements that actually directly will attack the tumor, like activating natural killer cells, which are the normal cells that our body uses to attack cancer cells, then we can enhance the results significantly. So the combination of anti-tumor therapy, even though mild, and a very strong immune attack against the tumor has given us very good results.
Yeah, let's go ahead and kind of dive into the immunology, autologous therapy, because people don't really understand like dendritic natural killer cells. Can you kind of tie or touch base on why Oasis is really special in offering, say, dendritic therapy now that more people are starting to hear about why Mexico is utilizing this? As you mentioned earlier off camera, how the United States is starting to really kind of ramp up of doing this clinical research now, whenever it hasn't really been offered for many years in the States, whereas Mexico has been offering that for quite some time.
Well, so there's two things about the immune therapy. Immune therapy finally came to fruition in the early 2000s. And we have been using immune therapy for almost 60 years.
Oh, I didn't know that one. I say decades, but okay, thanks for putting the exact numbers.
For many, many years, we've about 80% of our efforts in destroying tumors is through the patient's immune system. And we've used from the simplest things like laughter to the most complicated like vaccines.
Okay.
Nowadays, we have many tools available, and we have a very sophisticated laboratory here at the Oasis where we prepare very personalized anti-tumor immune therapy to our patients. And most of it is based on dendritic cells. So the dendritic cell is the cells that are in charge of presenting the foe to the specific agents of the immune system for that foe. So if it's a bacteria, they will then go and choose the white cells that attack bacteria or viruses or parasites. And there are very specific cells that attack tumors, and they're called natural killer cells. So the dendritic cell, if the dendritic cell doesn't do that presentation, the natural killer cells are there with their guns and do nothing. And most tumors, because they arise in a very slow way from normal cells will not recognize, the dendritic cell does not recognize that as a foe.
Mhm.
And that's why tumors grow. And so the immune system is blind to the tumor. So by preparing this immunotherapy in a way that we remove the blindfold from the dendritic cells, then they can do the presentation. And the guys with the guns will attack that tumor. So in a very simple way, we create within the immune system an anti-tumor task force for that specific tumor.
More soldiers.
Yes.
Mhm.
And there are several variations of the immune therapy depending on the needs of the patients and depending on the amount of tissue that we get from the patient, that we can make several variations where we can make the therapy even more aggressive against the tumor. But basically, what the dendritic cell immunotherapy is based on is that we present the antigen of the tumor to the dendritic cells so the dendritic cell can see the tumor, and then the dendritic cell can advise the army that's waiting there to attack the tumor. So that's the main part of the immune therapy that we have.
Now, the process of it, are people given urine, blood? Do they have to get a tumor biopsy? Like, how is this process created?
So most of the immunotherapies are developed from tumor circulating cells. Every patient will have cells of their tumors circulating.
Mhm.
And that's how you get metastases from one place to another. And from those circulating tumor cells, we obtain the antigens of the tumor, which are the triggers
Mhm.
for the immune system to work. And so we develop in the laboratory from monocytes about 10 million dendritic cell vaccines that are blank. They have no information whatsoever. And we activate those 10 million with antigens that we obtain from the tumor circulating cells. When we have the possibility of obtaining tumor tissue,
Mhm.
then we obtain a lot more antigens
Mhm.
from the tumor tissue. There's two ways to use this. From fresh tumor, if we have the patient here and we can remove a tumor, then we have a lot more antigens. When that is not possible and the patient has access to their paraffin blocks, whenever we do a biopsy, the pathologist will keep tissue
Mhm.
in a bank and they keep the tissue in paraffin blocks. They're like candles.
Hmm.
And from that dead tissue, we can obtain antigens.
Hmm.
And so the more antigens you have, the more effective your immunotherapy can be. And so from the blood or from fresh tumor tissue or from paraffin blocks, we can obtain antigens.
And you guys, if someone wanted to get through the paraffin blocks, like hosted at the facility they got their tumor biopsy at, you guys assist them through that process?
Yes,
Okay.
it is actually quite easy to do that.
Okay.
And every country has a different code, but in general, they keep them in their banks at least 5 years. In America, I think it's 12 or 15
Oh, wow.
years.
That's good to know. So we've gotten many questions from people that are taking at-home protocols using fluphendazole, ivermectin, and other repurposed medications that's kind of touched on earlier.
Mhm.
Is this something that you would be open to working with?
Definitely, definitely. There's a lot of information in the medical literature about chenbendazole.
Mhm.
And even for chronic use. These are drugs that were designed or are designed for very small dosages,
Mhm.
once or twice a year,
Right.
to get your parasites out. In Mexico, we have a lot of experience with them. But nobody knows on high dosage
Mhm.
used for a long time. We did an experiment here at the hospital in the time of COVID. I presented two possibilities to our personnel. to be vaccinated or to use a preventive protocol designed in America using ivermectin. And I can tell you that about 70%, maybe 80% of us chose not to get vaccinated. And so we protected ourselves with ivermectin. And the dosage is massive in comparison to what it was designed for. And we used it for at least 6 months. And some of us took it for about 9 months. We're all still alive. We did not get COVID. And nowadays, the people that got vaccinated are, like, oh,
That's a whole nother topic.
But that's another topic.
Yeah.
So I can tell you for sure that ivermectin used in high dosages over a long period of time is very well tolerated. We do not have now sufficient information as to how potent the anti-tumor activity is, but we know that it is. We have much more effective natural elements to fight cancer, where we are not using ivermectin as a part of our protocol, nor fenbendazole. But we have some patients that want to take it, and it can be very well combined with our protocol.
I think that's always like a big concern is I'm on all of this. What are these facilities mindsets are towards me doing this? Is this something that I need to keep secret? Like, don't keep secret. You need to let your facility know that you're working with, or any practitioner, to where, of course, standard of care, they're kind of a little different.
The biggest drawback is that when you, and I'm sure that people that are listening to us, and it's been your experience as well with when you consult with patients, they're diagnosed, and by the end of the week, they're taking 100 pills because everybody's calling them, right? So it comes to a point where your stomach can only take so much.
Yes.
And the protocols are already quite comprehensive. And for you to be adding every week something new because somebody called you, it's just too much. We've done a lot of research. Our protocol is very complete. And if you want to consult with us, we'll guide you in what is the best protocol to follow, and what the science says that is more effective one than the other. Because it's just impractical for everybody to be adding things.
Right. And you guys do assist, like when people leave this facility after being treated, say for, anywhere from 15 to 20 days for y'all's programs, they are leaving with an at-home protocol that you guys have
and it's
assisted
very comprehensive, meaning that they're taking a lot of things.
Yeah.
But every element has a very specific purpose and has a tremendous amount of scientific research behind it, in why we are recommending those elements to be taken.
Okay, perfect. So many people are familiar with conventional cancer treatments like chemotherapy, radiations. What are some limitations of these approaches?
Well, the biggest limitation is their toxicity. There's no question that they're effective. Okay, they will destroy cancer cells, but they also destroy a bunch of normal cells.
Right.
And they provoke tremendous havoc to the immune system, to the function of the liver, to the function of the kidneys. And so they're quite devastating. So when we use chemotherapy, we use them very scantily and for hopefully short periods of time. Sometimes they have to be used.
Right.
But their biggest limitation is their toxicity.
And that's why the alternative solutions are very important.
Yes, because you can use them over a long period of time. They're usually well tolerated. Most of them will not create resistance. The tumors they're very intelligent, and they find a way to block the activity. And so they protect themselves, but the chemotherapy will not kill the tumor, but continues to be very toxic. And so that's why you have first line, second line, third line, fourth line of chemotherapy, and each one being more aggressive. Whereas resistance against normal anti-tumor agents is very rare. It does happen, but it's very rare.
So a common question I always get, they say, if these facilities are utilizing, say, detoxification methods, but they're also utilizing, say, immunotherapy or chemotherapy, Wouldn't this contradict each other and not make them work?
No, the detoxification has to be done even if you're only using natural things, because the natural things are going to be killing cancer cells, and you're going to be intoxicated by
Right.
that. So the detoxification process we recommend forever.
Right.
And so we do the more aggressive we have to be, the more detoxification we have to do. But they don't go against each other. Detoxifying helps. One of the main problems of conventional therapies is that they never think about detoxification.
Right.
And if when we use chemotherapy and strong detoxifying measures, well, then the tolerance is going to be better for the chemotherapy.
Essentially, it's lessening the toxic burden on the body and freeing up the immune system in a
Exactly.
way. Yeah.
Exactly.
So could you explain, I know commonly people hear about, say, vitamin C. This is always a big thing. I need to implement vitamin C. And when you see facilities, almost every facility is offering vitamin C. Could you go into some reasons as to like why this is being used to support the immune system and the potential anti-cancerous properties that it provides for a patient?
So vitamin C in normal dosages is a very potent antioxidating agent. And that's very confusing to people because how come you're using this as an oxidating agent? And so the first thing is that vitamin C up to 10 grams a day, orally or IV, in any way that you give it, is it's an antioxidating therapy. It provides detoxification, very effective detoxification, and it is also an immune stimulating agent. When you start using very high dosages like 30, 50, 100 grams, in that very high dosage, in the presence of oxygen, the antioxidant converts into an oxidant. And the most effective way that we know to date to kill cancer cells is through oxidative stress. So the malignant cell loves to live in oxidation instead of redox. Redox is where there's no oxidation and no reduction. So most of our cells are neutral. Cancer cells love to live in oxidation. Because of that, Linus Pauling in the 70s came up with the idea, well, if the malignant cell is in oxidation, why don't we antioxidate the tumor and bring it down? That was the whole scientific motive behind that therapy. And after about 3 clinical trials using about 10 grams of vitamin C, they noticed that the patients lived longer and better than the ones that did. But then studies showed that it's just about impossible to antioxidate the cells. And so they said, well, then it doesn't work. It took about 3 decades later for researchers at the NIH to say, there's something there. And so they started, and they discovered that in high dosages, vitamin C converts into an oxidant in the presence of oxygen. This is already proven. It was proven at the NIH. And they develop a protocol at the NIH to treat cancer with oxidation purposes. I don't know if you know this, but all radiation therapy kills cancer cells through oxidation. And so high dose vitamin C converts into the same oxidant as radiation without side effects.
I don't know.
And many chemotherapies kill cancer cells through oxidation. The same as vitamin C. Isn't that amazing?
That's very amazing.
Without side effects. But you have to have very high dosages, and you have to have oxygen. Now, tumors protect themselves from oxygen very effectively. And that's why sometimes radiation therapy doesn't work. Because if there's no oxidation, the cell just laughs.
Right.
Okay? And so the trick is to get oxygen within the tumor. The only element proven to increase the amount of oxygen within tumor tissue is ozone. So you have to give ozone before, so that there's oxygen in the tumor, and then you give the vitamin C. In order to start the oxidative process, if you remember from your high school chemistry, oxidation is when there's a loss of an electron. And so when there's a loss of an electron, then you will have a chain reaction of a tremendous amount of free radicals. Right. So these guys at the NIH, they discovered all of this. Okay, we didn't invent this, and so they said we're going to use an electron donating agent, which is vitamin K. And so by providing this electron donating agent, we start the process and we reduce the amount of free radicals. And thus vitamin C works like chemotherapy without any of the side effects. In this way. It's an amazing thing. All discovered in America. Now some people are using it. Many, I'm sorry to say, have no clue. And they just give you a high dosages of vitamin K. They don't use, vitamin C. They don't use ozone to oxygenate the tumor. They don't use the vitamin K. They give the vitamin C in a very low dose. In order for this to happen, the concentration of vitamin C has to be very, very, very high. And so you have to give it very fast. And so if you are using 30 grams, it has to be given in 30 minutes. If you give it in 2 hours, it's good for nothing. And so all of this is published, and we have published the protocol. And still many people don't even read it, and they're just giving high dose vitamin C, and the people are just urinating more vitamin C.
So this is important for people that are actually, because there's a lot of people that can't travel to facilities, right? That's why they tune in for webinars like this. So for the people that are tuning in, say they can't travel to the facility, but they are spending all this money on vitamin C because it's very expensive. It's important for them to utilize.
To ask these questions. Okay. How fast are you giving it to me? Are you preparing my tumor with ozone or any other way? Are you using vitamin K? Not all patients can receive vitamin K, okay? Because if you have thrombosis, or vitamin K can increase the possibility of thrombosis. But so somebody that's giving it needs to be aware, or has to have a good idea.
There's a lot of moving components into it. Yeah, so it's not really cookie cutter. So just a note, because I didn't know that. So I hope you guys learned something with that today. So let's kind of dive into a few more questions, and then I'm going to have a little special person, hi there, join us here shortly. So can we talk about hyperthermia? Because a lot of people do ask about this and ask about how your hyperthermia, say, is different than the German technology of hyperthermia. German technology, as we know, probably some people tuning in, it takes a longer process. You have to, heat the body, stabilize it, then do a cool down method. This can take hours for a patient. Very uncomfortable, sometimes need to be sedated. So how is y'all's hypothermia completely different than, say, the German technology?
It is not completely different.
Okay.
It's just that we were able to develop with a group of scientists that developed cocoons for beauty purposes, and losing weight, and so we told them that we needed to break the 39-degree switch that our body has, and they were able to do it in the same cocoon, and so hyperthermia, the body temperature has to rise to 41 degrees or 42 degrees. And that's not easy to do. And they were able to design this with infrared and other type of rays to do that. And so we can break that barrier in about 10 to 15 minutes, whereas with the old school German, it's very effective. It takes about an hour.
Yeah.
So you need an hour of preparation, break that, and then you at least need 60 minutes of therapy for it to be effective, and then the cool down period. So by breaking the barrier in 10 to 15 minutes, it allows us for the whole procedure to be much shorter. Now, it is true that hyperthermia directly will destroy tumor cells. But in order for you to do that, you would have to be in the 42-degree range for 4 to 6 hours. We used to do that a long time ago.
Mm.
The patient is like in intensive care. It's very complicated. It's quite dangerous.
Constantly have to monitor.
And so we do not use the hyperthermia as a direct anti-tumor agent. It does, it will, but over a period of 45 minutes to an hour is not a significant tumor kill agent.
Mhm.
We use it because it increases and prepares the patient for oxidative stress. And so when you combine that with the vitamin C, it has a synergistic effect. And so it's like a 1-2 punch
Mhm.
in killing malignant cells with elements that have no toxicity whatsoever. So yes, hyperthermia will kill some cancer cells, but our main purpose is the oxidative process. And a good side effect is that it's also very immune stimulating.
Mhm.
So it detoxifies, it stimulates the immune system, it kills some malignant cells, and it increases the oxidative stress so that in combination with other therapies, you can use it. There are studies where in America they've used a combination of radiation therapy with hyperthermia very effectively. So everybody knows I mean, people that know about oncology know what I'm talking about. And so we didn't discover that.
Mhm.
So the reason why we use it for a period of 45 minutes to an hour is that we know that that's not our main anti-tumor agent.
Mhm.
It's really to increase the oxidative stress in a safe way with no side effects.
Now, for people that are at home, because I know in the States, like getting like actual hyperthermia is very difficult. Like even I've searched for facilities that do it right rather than use infrared saunas. Is like IR sauna still something beneficial, or like the say Therasage sauna that your head sticks out and it's like a tent around you? Are these still beneficial for cancer patients to utilize?
Yes, yes. They will not have any direct effect against the tumor. They will not increase the oxidative stress. But if you're not combining it with any type of oxidative therapy, then it's okay. And the immune stimulation will be there, and the detoxification will be there.
Right.
At 39 degrees, which is usually the highest temperature that you can achieve with sauna, infrared or not, with jacuzzi,
Mhm.
it's good. I think it's very good. You can use it every day. I think it's very beneficial, but it does not have the true anti-tumor capacity
So
of
that's
hyperthermia. And for that reason, we stopped using also regional hyperthermia for a long time. So they only heat up the area of the body where the tumor is. I think it has some, effect, but for us, the most important is the oxidative stress. And for that, it's whole body hyperthermia, which is the best.
And whole body hypothermia is beneficial for those that say don't really have like a mass that needs to be tended to, but still have like circulating tumor cells, circulating stem cells.
Yes, definitely.
That's always a question. So we're going to move on to some patient questions that we got for this live Q&A session that people are submitting. There's only a few. There's like 4 that we'll mention. And then Ms. Miller will be joining us here soon. So first question is from Lynn. She said, is it appropriate to receive treatment at a place like this? That's why I asked. If someone has already had surgery to remove the bulk of the cancer, can places like this help get rid of the remaining cancer, including stem cells?
Definitely. One of the things in some tumors, debulking a tumor is very important. I think that in most tumors it can be helpful because it's not the same. Let's say that when you put all together, the tumors are 2 pounds, and you remove 2.9 pounds, and then so the remaining amount of tumor is much easier to treat than ever. So debulking of tumors is not a bad idea. When you do a curative surgery, meaning that you remove everything, to reduce the risk of recurrence, depending on the aggressivity of the tumor, therapies like ours are going to be very, very effective in reducing that risk. So yes, in many instances, we combine surgery or surgical procedures with our therapy.
What I see, and correct me if I'm wrong, is whenever people go in for surgery and say they're not given a treatment plan, they say, okay, you removed your cancer, you're good now. And then years later, they have recurrence and now they're stage 4 cancer. And is it because of the circulating tumor cells?
Correct.
Mm.
Yeah, because no matter how much to the naked eye and even to the pathologist, if you do not address the reason why they developed that tumor,
Right.
the likelihood of this tumor coming back is very high. Also, with surgery or chemotherapy, you do not get rid of the stem cells from cancer, and that's another important part to reduce the risk. So a therapy like ours that addresses all of those is very convenient or important for a patient to do to reduce the risk of recurrence. It's always going to be there.
Yeah, thank you. And so what are some next steps for the dendritic vaccine program? Also, what direction, if any, is the hospital taken towards further development of CAR-T protocols? This is coming from Gerald. He actually was a patient of yours.
We are committed to CAR T cells. CAR T cells are a lot more complicated, and they are not used widely, even though the results have been very good because of the cost.
Yeah.
So one treatment is around $500,000, and usually patients would need more than one treatment. The insurance companies do not pay for it.
Yeah.
The reason why we are interested, and I believe that in a couple of years we'll be ready to do CAR T cells, is because very likely we'll be able to produce CAR T cells at around $50,000 instead of $500,000.
Wow.
And so that opens up the door at least to a lot more patients
Yeah.
than not. But CAR T cells, in my view, are
The Cadillac.
a very positive development of cancer immunotherapy.
Perfect. Well, good. I'm glad you guys are going to be able to afford, provide it at a more affordable cost for people.
Yes.
Yeah. So prostate, this is coming from Joseph. Prostate cancer protocol and cost. Can it be done remotely, and how much time involved if you need to go there? Cost can vary. Usually their extended program is about $39,000 for a 20-day stay, but always it's best to get in for consults, submit your medical records, have that overviewed, and they do provide you with a detailed treatment plan with that cost estimate, as it's different for each diagnosis. As some are saying, okay, I don't have prostate, but I might have breast or colorectal. They do have shorter programs, different costs associated with those. But you do not offer any remote protocols as a
Well, if somebody has for instance, Gleason 6, we might.
Oh.
Because those tumors usually will not kill a patient.
Mm-hmm.
They're very benign prostatic cancers, and in those cases we might offer a home therapy without the rest. Anything above that, 7 to 10, you need to come and we need to really treat it, because those are very aggressive prostate cancers.
Thank you. And then also Laura said, I would like to know how much treatment cost is and how to stop the cancer from coming back. So as mentioned, the cost range can get up to 39 or so thousand. Again, this is an estimate. Always best to do your consultation. If you have any questions, you can email me at peyton@healnavigator.com. I'm sure our team can drop that in the chat. Also, I have a schedule link. We can always talk about the consultation process here. We do have the medical questionnaire that you will need to fill out and provide medical documents, scan reports, biopsy information if you have it, blood work, and also Mike is pretty good at asking you guys to submit some other documents as necessary. That way they can provide a full medical review and give you that treatment plan more geared towards your specific diagnosis and individualized cost, because as I mentioned before, it can range due to each diagnosis. So, yeah. All right, well, I'm going to invite our friend over here to come share her story. Come on over. Thank you, Dr. Contreras, so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Just both of them, or
Whatever you guys want. Yeah.
Oh, I
You
guess
can
it,
stay. He might want some water and to take a
Yeah.
break. He's
Please come.
Oh,
You need some water?
I'm sure, well, okay.
There you go. And so I had the pleasure of meeting our dear friend here. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Betsy M, and
Yeah.
I am from Houston, Texas area, and I'm here with my spouse who has a squamous cell carcinoma, and hopefully that'll be all done, all gone. I have no doubts by the time we're finished with treatment here, and so we're very thankful to be here. It's been wonderful so far.
I had the pleasure of connecting with them because of Field Navigator, and then I was informed that they were here on site, which is always a blessing of traveling to these facilities in person. It's one of my favorite things, honestly, to have this in-person connection, get to see people in flesh. Also, they're local to my area. I'm in the Woodlands, so that's always like exciting. I see people's area codes. I'm like, you're local to me. Hey, how are you? But I'm going to hand it over to her so that way she can share a little of her experience here at Oasis of Hope, how they found Heal Navigator, how they, the process went through admission, and they actually got here really quick. I was really surprised. So
We did. We got here very quick, but we had done a tremendous amount of research before we came here. My dining room table's covered with paperwork from all over. We looked at a lot of different hospitals, even in Mexico, and elsewhere. My sister is very involved with cancer treatments on a holistic level, and she actually speaks at Annie Appleseed conferences, and she's met you before actually.
Oh, wow.
And Chris Beats Cancer.
Mhm.
So she was really a great navigator for us in coming here. And I would have to say, well, of course, Peyton was awesome to give us the information here. But I think the thing that made us sign on the line was we asked a few times to speak with somebody who'd been here. And it just so happened that a couple was coming in on Friday, and we were scheduled to come in hopefully on the weekend. And so we asked, well, is there any way we could talk to them? Because we just wanted that last bit of affirmation that this was the right decision. We wanted to make sure that his specific kind of cancer had been treated here before. And we talked with this couple, and for about 45 minutes, they called us. And that was just unbelievable to hear their story, their experience, and the results that they had. He had the same exact cancer, squamous cell carcinoma of the tonsil. And after I'm gonna cry. After this gentleman's treatment here, 3 weeks, he came back for 3 months later, and he had 90% of his cancer was gone. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, sign me up. Son, we're not going anyplace else. We had actually, did want to mention this, we had actually gone to one of the, started the process just to look into it, of what it would take for him to get treated at a major hospital, cancer hospital in Houston. If you're from Houston, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And we went to the oncologist, and we got the information from them. They sent us to the dentist downtown, and that was a very, very scary visit, because they said they were going to radiate his jaw, and the bone would die, and his saliva glands down here would be killed, and it could affect his hearing, and it could affect his arms, the use of his arms. And so we went home, we were like, oh my gosh. And then we met with the speech therapist, and all the things that can happen with the speech. And then we were like, oh my goodness, and then we met with the radiologist, and that was the most enlightening one, the scariest one of all the side effects from the radiation and chemo. And I think their philosophy is, if we'll radiate you as much as possible. They wanted to give him 70 Gs of radiation for almost 7 weeks at a time, 5 days a week, with 1 day of chemo in between. And well, why don't you just kill him? I mean, the side effects from that were lifelong. And then I just feel like their philosophy is, well, if we can get you to that 5-year mark, doesn't matter, and roll you in a wheelchair maybe even, but you have no sign of cancer, then you're cured. What about after? What about quality of life, and how
Right.
soon will the sloughing, I think it's called sloughing, or what's the other word? The cancer cells after radiation. Anyhow, that how soon would the cancer reoccur?
Mhm.
What's the chances? So we said, nope, we're not doing that. And so we decided, after hearing the tremendous success of the patient that we talked with, we said, we're coming here. And if you're thinking about coming here, do it. That's what I'll say. It's just an amazing, amazing place. From the time you walk in here, the heart and the love and the concern for your medical care and your loved one. And even for me, my goodness, the pastor handed me a book on the other patient, the person that takes care of the person with cancer.
Yeah.
Who would think to do that? It's just, the love of God is so wonderful here, and the treatments are just incredible. My husband's doing really, really well with all the treatments, no issues, and he loves the food. So
I love the desserts.
I don't know, is there anything else you'd like me to share, or?
Have you guys done like the hands-on food preparation courses yet?
I did that. And who does that? They,
Yeah.
you know, I attended the cooking, they offer a cooking class too, already went to the cooking class. And then they have a nutritionist that comes in and doesn't tell you to just eat vegetables, that they organic, everything should be organic and healthy. What you should be eating, and we usually do eat pretty well like that at home. But yeah, and then every day there is the pastor here. He does a service at 10 o'clock, and that is so wonderful and healing for all that. You can go in. What hospital can you go in with an IV and hear a pastor singing and offering a message of hope? I don't know of anyone that. Here he is. I would take pictures of Jeff sitting there on my head, and with the IV on, and then he's listening. He's being sung to by a pastor. Oh my gosh, how healing is that? Oh, the other thing I want to mention is the friendships and the people that you learn from when you're here. You know, when you come here first, you're thinking, oh, did I make the right decision? This was such a huge decision for us. And you go down to the lunchroom. That's the hub of all the people in here. The lunchroom is just unbelievably wonderful, helpful, and I met so many new friends down there. But the thing is, well, what was your experience? And then they'll tell you, well, how did you get here? And then the next person has another story, and then the next person has another one, and they're all just as different as could be. And how we all ended up here at the same time. You know, it's like the pastor said, we pray. He told us yesterday, he said, we pray for people that are supposed to be here to come here. And I thought, well, isn't that wonderful? That's just amazing that they do that here. So sitting around for meals is just like a wealth of information. It's just incredible what the stories that you hear of. Oh, I almost got radiation, or I did get radiation, and this is what happened to me. And I'm so thankful to be here. So that's really priceless, I would say, to be down there with all those folks. Like you were saying, you used to be in that was the Dr. Cisneros that said they used to do it in the rooms, and you missed out on that. So really grateful that we have the lunchroom and also the IV room, but the lunchroom is really where it all happens.
Yes.
I walked in on you getting a seminar today,
Right,
yeah, education
yeah.
seminar.
They
So,
do.
yeah.
They have something every day here, from the service in the morning to when you're getting your IVs, and then afterwards there's always somebody that's speaking on something. So you never get bored here, that's for sure.
Well, that's good. So what are your thoughts of Mexico?
Oh, well, for us, we've traveled to Mexico many times.
Okay.
So, I know for maybe perhaps somebody new, some of our family, like, where are you in Mexico?
Right.
Tijuana? Tijuana?
No, that's everyone I talked to.
Yeah. So we're very used to coming to Mexico, all different kinds of cities in Mexico. We've traveled a lot, and so for us, we did walk down to the beach yesterday, and we walked to the Walmart that's close by. So, and it was perfectly fine, safe. And it's not the prettiest city to go visit, but we're not here for a visit.
Right.
We're here to get healed.
Yes.
So who cares?
Right.
It's this is like, I think about places that Jesus went to, and did it matter what it looked like, what the people looked like? That didn't matter. You went to him to get healed. He didn't say, oh, you're not dressed nice enough,
Right.
to get healed. No, it didn't matter to him. So that's the way I feel about it here. And the hospital is just beautiful. It's wonderful. I think you could eat off the floor. There's always somebody mopping and cleaning
It's very
the room.
clean.
It's extremely clean, and the staff is hands down just remarkable. Always asking, is there anything I can get you? How are you doing? And so incredibly polite too. It's really a special place. We're very thankful that we're here.
Well, thank you
Really
very much.
thankful.
Thank you. And
Thank you for treating
we're
me.
expecting miracles.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a crybaby too.
No, I am too. I'm pregnant. I'm like trying to hold back the tears, like. But here's some water.
Oh, okay, I'll take a sip.
Yes, please. Thank you so much for joining in last minute. I know I kind of approached you, but I just want to say, so thankful. You are open to sharing your testimony and your story and your, your journey of faith coming here. It's very brave to say, no, we're not going to do that
Yeah.
right now. We're going to take it this way.
A lot of our
So,
family thought, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Nope, we're not going that route.
No, and you
We're
as
coming
a
here.
wife and partner, just doing all the research, and
Well, he says I have a warrior spirit, and I kind of do.
Yeah, you do.
Once I make up my mind on what we're gonna do, not what you're gonna do. This is what we're gonna
We're a
do.
team, baby.
Right, that's right. Yeah, we do it. So, thanks to my sister too, that she really was very instrumental in guiding our path to you, and you were very instrumental too, and the couple that we talked with, they just went home yesterday, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, yes, and he just had a tiny little
Yeah,
speck
Yeah.
of cancer.
And he had a tumor almost the size of a fist.
Okay.
Here in the neck.
Yeah, so, yep, we're in good hands here, best of
Amen.
hands, yes.
We'll be praying for you.
Thank you,
guys.
appreciate that, yes.
Absolutely. So thank you.
Okay,
so
all
much.
right,
I don't want to
thank
keep
you,
you
that's
too long. I know
okay.
he's probably wondering where
Thank
you
you,
are.
Dr. Contreras.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining in.
I'm gonna give you a hug if that's okay.
Aw.
Thank you. God bless you.
And here's your water. honey.
Oh,
You need
thank you.
that.
Okay.
Yes. Well, guys, I want to say thank you all for joining us so much today during this webinar. I hope you found it beneficial, heartwarming, connective. I'm excited to actually be able to host my very first one live from Tijuana. So thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
so
Thank you.
much.
This is very nice.
Yeah.
Nice to have you here in person.
Yes, thank you for hosting this, and thank you, Gaston, for being able to set everything up, and thank you all for being so patient during our technical. Oh my goodness, look at you being so generous. So if you've tuned in for our webinars before, Gaston and the team and Dr. Contreras are so kind to always offer Dr. Contreras' book. I actually was gifted one of these as well. So for those that are wanting to get one of these copies, if you could, please send us an email saying, hey, I would like a free book. To info@heal, HEAL, navigator, navigator.com. Sorry, I see our team. They're kind of typing over there. Are you going to drop it in chat? Thank you so much. That way we can do a little giveaway of a few books to you guys that will be signed by Dr. Contreras himself here. So we will be doing that. Also, just to recap for those that might be tuning in as well, the $3,000 grant that they do apply from their ministry to Heal Navigator referral patients. So please make sure to mention that you come through Heal Navigator. That way that is applied to your tuition if Oasis of Hope is something that you're considering. I'll have my team as well drop my link in the comments. I'm here in Tijuana, but I'm still doing calls. So if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me through email, through text. I know a lot of you have my cell phone number, or even book a call with me, or even Terry that will be assisting me in these calls as well as she is tuning in. Terry, do you want to come join and say hi? Just a wave, just a wave. Terry will take it over whenever I go on maternity leave in April. So she flew in from South Africa. She's part of our Heal Navigator team. So I just wanted her to say hi, as you guys usually see my face. So some of you have talked to her as well. But thank you all again for tuning in. We will be ending this webinar, doing some calls in between, catching up with our team here at Oasis.